So I'm going to demonstrate this Unity scene that I have here, which can show off some of the major features of the editor, as well as the ways that I made and rigged many of its components. So let me go ahead and hit play and show you what we've got. So in this little scene, I've got my knight character here that can run around, and he can look in different directions while running, jumping, and charge around if I hold shift. If we hit the water, then we end up resetting. And if we take a little stroll over here, I've got some demonstration objects. So you can see we've got a money count up in the corner there. You can collect coins. The bags, I think they have 5, oh, 10. And then the treasure chest sprays coins way out like that. And I animated all of those things when they were first set up into the scene. A little physics object to play with here, and many more. You can see some gray islands out in the background. All of the assets that you see were freely available online, royalty free, just with attribution. And so I used them in conjunction with a couple of different 3D editors in order to make these assets compatible with Unity and then set them up for this sort of playground that we could mess around with. Over here in this clearing, I've got some interactable objects, and all of this stuff was a part of a different scene. The mushrooms are set up to have logic, which is sort of math-based, that if they add up in a certain way, you turn into different things. So, oh, I missed. Okay, there we go, a little splash. Let's do one of each color. Actually, don't remember what the formulas are. I set this up a while back, but let's just do. Actually, I think one of each color is the one that changes you back to normal. So let's do 2 blues and a yellow. I became a bat. So now I can smash, jump to fly around and go land up here on top of this tower or something. There we go. And so if I stop play, then we can come back here. So here's the environment scene we've got. The water, by the way, is animated procedurally using some code. And the land is a terrain. So the cool thing about a terrain is that we can place things on it, such as prefabs. So I've got prefabs down here in this folder. Here are the coins, so we could put some collectibles here around where our character is if we wanted to. Here's more of the mushrooms and a treasure chest. We'll put a treasure chest right there. And I've got some interactable stuff as well. So let's see, there's more players. Which one do I want? Here's a boulder. Boulder's fun because that will roll away slowly if I whack into it. So we'll put one right there. Here's another barrel. You can see that this looks bright purple because I'm actually using vertex shaders on all of these objects. But I'm going to put, let's see, did I place that down right? Let me try one more time. I want to make sure it's on the ground. I'm going to put down a barrel and a plank on top of it, and then see if I can balance a couple more barrels on it just to have something to play with. When I first made this scene, this was as a demonstration for high school students so that they could quickly jump into Unity and mess around and have some fun with the editor. There we go. Oop. Knocked it all down. Let's push the boulder too. You can see that island over there is more populated with trees and rocks and things, and that's because that's a demonstration place for the terrain editor. So if I click on the ground down here, you can see we've got terrain. I can go paint, and let's see, we can paint the texture. The textures I have are just colors, but it's a good way to demonstrate that we could blend together grasses and sands and things like that to make a really nice looking composite. Well, let's change it to set height or smooth height. Raise or lower terrain. There we go. So this will allow me to paint the height of the ground, and we can make new islands. So for instance, right here, we can make a new little island there. Let's set it to smooth. Yeah, so we've got a new little island. And then I can click on these other tabs to add some of the decoration objects. So they all look purple, but they work properly. Just got to change the brush size and density. So now, there we go. We've got some of these weird mushroom trees. And in the next tab, we could add grasses, like that. Berry bushes, which I might as well just do over here because the berry bushes are kind of big. Ooh, too many. Let's see. There we go. Hold down Control to erase. And where's the density? Brush size, opacity. Probably target strength, maybe. Oh, I already had it very low. Possibly opacity. I'll just turn down the size a little bit. Yeah. Too many of those berry bushes. And we've also got rocks. Oh no, those are flowers. Thought there was rocks in here. Yeah, there they are. Pebbles. Larger stones. So I allowed the students to play with this and kind of decorate their world and have fun. You know, sort of make new islands and fewer ones and place pickups all over the place. And it's a really kind of fun way to introduce the concept of game development. I do want to focus on the character just for a moment. Let's see if I can find him in this list. Because the character is another free asset, the mannequin was anyway, and the rigging and animation was all done by me. So the way the character controller is working right now is kind of interesting. If we click right here, I can bring up the animator window, in which we can see there are parameters that are driving the character's motion and some movement and jump trees that are exchanging through these transitions. If I go inside and click on a blend tree, then we have this little preview window down over here where we can see how the logic affects the animation. So hitting play, we just see him walking along. But if I drag the blend tree, we can see him stop and do his idle animation. There's his walking animation, and then he's got a running animation, and anything in between, because we're feeding this parameter into this blend tree. It's kind of cool to see that play out. The other tree, jump tree, is really simple. This is just measuring your upward and downward velocity. And so it just trades off between these two completely static states. And I found that that worked best, that when I go back into the game and jump around, the nice smooth transition in velocity up and down was the best thing for making it look like the character was jumping naturally. So let me go ahead and hit play one more time. I also have other parameters such as you can see when my camera moves around, the character's upper body and head changes direction, so I can run while looking one direction or the other. We can also run around, jump, look while carrying a mushroom. And that's because I have some character masking going on where I've got one animation that's only affecting the arm and the other animation is affecting the rest of the body. So we can do two things at once, like throw and jump, or jump and carry, that sort of thing. I didn't have to do many different animation states for that. You just have to cleverly set up the animation parameters. So let's take a look at Maya, where this character was rigged. So here we're in Maya, and if I hit play, here are all the animation loops provided for that character. So importing it into Unity is as easy as saving this file and dragging it in. But here you can see if I grab my controllers, all of the keyframes down here, and you can even see where some of my loops begin and end. So here's just his idle, and the walking, the running, jumping. Now you can see I actually animated a whole jump, but I ended up not using it because it was better to just have those individual states. And then there's the throwing animation, where it actually does affect his upper body a little bit, but I ended up masking that out by determining that that was going to be a little bit better. You can even see how this character was rigged. If we go back to the T-pose at frame 1, then we show the joints. There we go. So all characters that are animated have bones inside of them so that the mesh can deform. And if I play with these controllers, the controllers move the bones and the bones move the mesh. So I've got some IK controls for his arm, which allow me to just position them anywhere I want, rotate the hand into position, and I've got a little custom attribute here that I made for grabbing. So he can spread his fingers and squeeze his fingers. Just a nice, simple little primitive setup for the character. His head can look around like that, and his feet can take steps. And all of that combines together once I put keyframes in the right place into a nice fluid animation cycle. Right now I have wireframe on shaded turned on so that you can see the character a little bit better. I turn off joints. If I change that, he's a little bit more how he would appear in the game. Then I could even turn off the controllers entirely. And now we can just see how the character will appear in the game. I mentioned that I was using a vertex shader, and that's because the assets came from Blender. Blender is another 3D program that does many of the same things that Maya can do. But this is where these were native to, so I just did it in Blender. And I used vertex paint for that. So that means that all of the objects in the scene have one material, and the color of the vertices is recorded here in this program and is feeding into those objects into Unity to display them differently. I was just playing around with a vertex shader. I'd never used one before, so I was fascinated to see how it would work. And it turned out to need a little bit of shader writing to make it work properly with shadows, but I managed to copy and paste my way towards a nice looking scene. But all of these assets were provided by someone at Sketchfab. I actually have all the attributions written on a notepad document here. And I just set up some of them for animation, such as the treasure chests. Most of them are just fine the way that they are. Could be used as building blocks in our world. So I'm going to go back to Unity. Take one last look in there. There are a bunch of different snippets of code that do various behaviors. Like I've got behaviors for throwing things into the cauldron. I've got behavior for when we encounter the water. Lots of different stuff. And we've even got special effects. So the cauldron's a good example of special effects. If I open that up. Let's see if I can find them. Particle bubbles. There. Nice little 3D bubbles popping out of there. Let's see, this bubble group I think was animated specifically. And then we've got this splash. There we go. So when something is actually thrown into the green goop, then we have that splash that plays. Some of these are also particle effects. So when you collect your coins, let's see, there's the treasure chest. You have a particle emitter that sprays coins everywhere. I really like that effect. The sky was also another custom thing that I set up. There was a nice piece of art that was provided, I think on opengameart.org, that wasn't compatible with the cube map that you need for the sky. And so I just edited it really quickly in Photoshop to be appropriate and then set it up there. We can't actually look upward with this controller. It's just meant to look side to side, but you can see the important part, which is the tree line. Oh, it's not floating, is it? No, it's just shallow. Okay. So there we go. A nice little interactive environment where we can place down lots of collectibles, maybe make some platforming challenges, and collect money, along with an animated character with a custom controller, and lots of little assets that you can decorate the environment with from open source. Let's try one more time. I'm going to throw 2 reds in this time, because I kind of forget what all the formulas were. Oh, I missed. This is set to automatically throw when I get close enough, but I can also hit E to throw them in there. All right, let's try that. Oh, a bat again. Oh well, I forget how to make the different things. You can shrink, you can turn into a bat, and you can turn into a mouse. And then I think the all different color formula is to turn you back into a normal person again. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration of these various different game development techniques. And thank you for listening.